Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Danny Seabright, the president of the U.S U.A.E. Business Council, and we're honored to have all of you here today and to have this distinguished panel, which Mr. Sahori is going to say a few words about in a moment. But first of all, this is a brand new building. They're still putting the furniture in downstairs in the lobby, and construction is going on outside on the deck. So we just moved in 2 months ago, and we're still finding our way around, and we appreciate that there was interest in trying to burn it in, as they say, get it ready for the big events. And this is the first big event that we've had in the room, so we really appreciate you being here. We are really, really honored to work with the gentleman here to my right, who is a great friend of all of you, but is a great friend, more importantly, to the community. Of course, we work closely together on business, and he's been a great supporter of the U.S U.A.E. Business Council. But Mr. Sahori has also been a really, really important bridge builder for better understanding in the Arab American community more broadly, especially since 9/11, but even before. And hearing the stories immediately after 9/11 that Mr. Sahori and others, what they did to come together to try to build better understanding and acceptance and of what was happening and putting things in context and building bridges with the Bush administration and law enforcement and everyone else in the community in the region, really, really critical. And he has continued to pursue those efforts to this day. And we just could not be more honored to call him friend and colleague and partner. Likewise, he introduced us a few years ago to Dr. Gurbaz, Mustafa Gurbaz, the program manager at the Arab American Business and Professional Association. And we've gotten to know this group very well in the last few years. And in fact, we're going to have an intern from the group here in the spring, summer. And we've tried to help the group get interns placed elsewhere with some of our member companies throughout the last year or so. And we're going to do more of that in the coming years. Very, very good organization to work with. And we are delighted that we could help partner today with the group. I'm going to let Mr. Sahori introduce the panelists, but I'm going to call out Samia because I was with Ambassador Stu Eisenstadt in Dubai a few weeks ago, and unfortunately, when your father invited us up to the house for dinner in Dubai, I wasn't able to come, but Ambassador Eisenstadt and his wife came, and they were sitting with your father and hearing all these wonderful stories about what you were doing, and got to talk about Catwalk cow. And they came back to me the next morning. We're sitting at breakfast, and they're saying, Catwalk cow, it's coming to the. I'm like, what the heck is Catwalk cow? And literally, 24 hours later, I open my inbox, and here's an email from the association saying, would you be interested in helping partner with this event today? I mean, this is like literally halfway a world away, and this is what a small 6 degrees of separation the world is. So we could not be more honored. We could not be more honored in so many ways to help promote this wonderful initiative. And Mr. Sahori, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce the panel and say a few words about the organization and what they're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I learned something from my granddaughter a couple of days ago. She was giving a speech and pretending that she was reading, and then we came to find out it was blank. So I think, you know, since I was not really prepared, I felt to really look like I am prepared. And I want to really thank Danny Seabright, which I call him Mr., and I also call him my friend. And we are truly honored to partner in a very important event that's not only timely to certain countries, because in this country we have more of a struggle for empowerment of a woman, just like the majority of the other countries. But I think being discussed here in Washington by experts on empowering the Arab woman, it does give us that missing element to know what is going on in that part of the world, because we already know what's going on in our part of the world as far as I myself having 11 granddaughters, grandchildren, and 7 out of them are women. So I could see the value of shifting the power from us guys to the smarter ones that we have, the ladies. So, again, Danny, I want to thank you for co-sponsoring. Your leadership is always needed, and it has been an inspiration to us as an organization and also on the individual basis. I would like to start by introducing Dr. Salah Hassan and have him introduced to give you the honor to introduce the panel. So I want to welcome you all here. Please have lunch, and in the meantime, we could listen while we are eating. Thank you and welcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for taking the time from your busy schedule to be with us. My name is Salah Hassan. I'm a professor at the GW School of Business, and I'm delighted to introduce the distinguished panelists that we have, and they are seated to my left. This is a very important time to talk about a rather essential topic: empowering Arab women entrepreneurs to build international successful enterprises. I would like to start first by thanking Mr. Danny Seabright. Thank you for co-sponsoring this event, and congratulations on the new building, and we are very flattered to be the inaugural big event for you. Women are good starters, so that is a good way to start. Thank you so much, Danny, for being a wonderful friend and supporter of the Arab American community. Yeah? Also, I would like to thank my dear friend, Mr. Fuad Sahuri, for your leadership, inspiration throughout the years, and for supporting the Arab American business and professional community in the Washington metro region, but also in North America. Thank you again so much. I am very proud of the 3 panelists I'm about to introduce. They have 3 incredible success stories to share with us this afternoon. They overcome a myriad of challenges to make their dreams come true. Each one of them is a very successful entrepreneur in her own field. Before I introduce them, I just want to go over few facts and figures. The number of women-owned businesses increased 31-fold since 1972, rising from 400,000, representing 4.6 of the firms in 1972, to 12.3 million, 40% of the firms today in 2018 data, according to a research study commissioned by American Express, are women. 4 out of 10 businesses, 40% in the United States of America, are women-owned enterprises. And that's according to American Express annual study on the state of women enterprises report. Data from the Arab world are encouraging as well. 34 to 57% of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math graduates in the Arab countries are women. Amazingly, it's much higher than universities in the United States and Europe and even the Silicon Valley. We have a sleeping giant. According to the Global Enterprise and Development Index, GETI, which is based in Washington, D.C., interestingly, the U.S. is ranked #1 globally in being an entrepreneur-friendly country. Yeah? U.A.E. was created to provide a more complete understanding of economic development by capturing the contextual nature of business formation, expansion, and growth. It is based on analysis of comprehensive data sets from 120 countries. U.A.E. provides annual rankings of these countries based on how friendly they are and their ecosystems when it comes to entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur ecosystem, according to U.A.E., rests upon 3 pillars: aspiration, attitudes, and activity. As a matter of fact, the panelists that I'm just about to introduce this afternoon are going to capture in their presentations the essence of this AAA model. We have Samia Ataya, an entrepreneur, and received the Entrepreneur of the Year award in the Gulf, an innovator in the food technology, and one of a kind in the manufacturing aspect of food. She is going to address today, she is the founder and managing director of Catwalk Cow. And she is going to talk today about entrepreneur inspiration, building business with a common good. Also, to my left, we have Dr. Malikah Alturki here. Will share her research findings on the second A here, attitudes, changing the mindset. As a matter of fact, that was a topic of her award-winning dissertation. I'm very proud to mention that Malikah is a George Washington University alum, like Danny as well. So thank you for being with us. Third, last but not least, is Dr. Doaa Taha, who is a driver of a lot of changes when it comes to science, technology, and engineering, because she does have a PhD in science and technology and engineering from also the George Washington University. She is going to talk about the third A, which is activity. Yeah? How to empower change and how to make change happen. No? Dr. Doaa is a professor of analytics and data science at Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. Thank you for being with us. We are going to start the order. There are a few things as the moderator I would like to mention, that you have a form in front of you, and we will deeply appreciate if you please can complete that form at the conclusion of the session. But most importantly, we also have a Q&A card. If you have any questions that pop up, we would like to defer the Q&A until the end of our session. So the 3 panelists will have the opportunity to speak for about 10-15 minutes each. And I will be the timekeeper here. So we are going to start first with Samia Ataya. Please welcome Samia Ataya.
So business should be a force for good, at least that's what I believe. A product can sell, it can have a lot of features that can make it successful, but having a mission or a mission-driven, enduring brand, that's what gives purpose, that's what gives you fulfillment and longevity in what you do. When a brand's purpose is to make a positive impact, then no matter how the business environment changes, the vision adapts accordingly, preserving that integrity of the motive why you started the business. Now, when I created Catwalk Cow almost 10 years ago, the motive behind that was I wanted to provide healthier, wiser eating choices in the dessert category because I found that was what was lacking in the market. People tried to be healthy, they ate well, they exercised, but when they came to dessert, there were no options. So either they ate whatever, they basically did not, they let it go when it came to dessert, or they tried to. Yes, there were no, there was nothing in that category to help basically people sustain a healthy living overall. And the products that were available, to me at least in 2000, 2001, were products that were very, sort of had medical claims on them, like diabetic friendly or lower in fat and calories, but with the use of all kinds of artificial ingredients, things that you could not feed children. And things that have been proven to be not very healthy to even adults. So I wanted to create a dessert option that was completely 100% natural, free from all kinds of preservatives, all kinds of additives, non-GMOs. That was something that was very essential, and used minimally refined raw ingredients. So I did not want to use any chemical substitutes in my products. The most important thing that was that we create a line of dessert or a line of mixes compromise on taste. The most important thing was to create a line of desserts that did not compromise on taste, so that people did not feel that they were losing out or missing out, and they could maintain a healthy lifestyle for long term. So to just bring this to why my personal motive was this, I have a son who had Tourette's syndrome as well as many other things, but the Tourette's syndrome showed very early on, around 2.5 years old. And so I had to keep him away from all kinds of preservatives, additives, and colorings because those exacerbated his symptoms and his behavioral, all his tics. When we later diagnosed him with ADHD at the age of 7, he had even more restrictions. And you cannot imagine trying to keep a child away from any kind of dessert or any kind of sugar. So this was a very big driving force for me, is to offer something where I could say, you have dessert, you have sweet treats that you can have that don't affect or don't exacerbate symptoms of these children. So again, it was about making a positive change in people's lives, adult or children. This is not a child-geared dessert, but this was for really everybody. And this is where I basically started to develop the recipes. I developed them myself. I worked with labs to try and adapt them so that they can be boxed and packaged and put on supermarket shelves. And that took many, many years. It took a long time, and I waited for the right time to launch this because the market in the UAE where I was very intimidating to launch something like this. The whole segment of specialty, organic, or all natural foods is very small. There is no understanding really of how those differ, let's say, from any kind of diet food or any kind of sugar-free food. So it was very intimidating to try and create the brand and explain to supermarkets or explain to outlets why this is different, because this was sort of a subcategory within already a specialty segment. So the concept really of gourmet specialty foods was a very new one. The other challenge that I faced was, in our part of the world, again, food manufacturing is something that there is not a lot of trust in, unfortunately. If you go beyond things like staples, spice mixes, or tomato paste or pasta, there is no trust in anything else. They do not believe the products that go into the box. They do not believe the claims that you make. Our food manufacturing industry is still very, very primitive, and it's very automated. That's another thing. In gourmet foods, you are not 100% automated. So when people know that there is a lot of handwork that goes into this, again, they lose faith in the product. So this was a very big challenge, but nevertheless, we created the brand. We did a lot of taste tests with supermarkets, and we pushed to get onto the shelves. And we were able to get onto the shelves of one major chain, 13 outlets of one major chain, and within 6 months we were in other major chains, and within 3 years we were in 35 outlets. A total of 90 or so supermarkets across the UAE. And the brand started to grow. And the brand is the biggest demographic, or the biggest buyer or fan of our brand we found over the years was actually expats living in the UAE. It was people that had some kind of knowledge of health, had some kind of knowledge of better eating, made wiser choices. So that is really what got me thinking to maybe this is a better market for us, or a larger market for us to move to. Europeans, Americans, Australians, South Africans, those were the people that were really buying our products. And luckily, I had met Dr. Salah many years ago. When I had just launched, I was maybe 2 years into the business, and we've kept in touch. And I'm lucky to have him with Acuran Consulting helping me try to basically internationalize my brand, which will now be manufactured here for this market. It will be manufactured in the US for this market. And we look forward to basically launching it, starting with the East Coast. And then we'll see how it goes from there, first things first. But the passion I have for the brand is really what kept it going, because it was not easy. There were a lot of ups and downs, and we had to deviate from the main business of food production to sort of educating consumers on healthier eating, which was, I wasn't in the business of doing that. I had to explain why my product is what it is, why it's more expensive, how it differs. And this became very difficult and very tedious, because you have consumers that tend to follow fad diets that come and go, and they're your followers for a little while, and then there's a new diet out, and then your product no longer fits into that diet. So it's there were a lot of challenges with this product. So I'm hoping we have more competition here that is within our same category. So people know what they're looking for. People are already looking for products like mine. And hopefully it will be a successful launch. When I look at trying to empower women to start businesses, I think the most important thing is you have to look into what you really value in life. What are the things you value? What are the changes you want to make? Because that's what, when things go up and down and things get difficult, if you have that passion, you still push through, because you don't give up, because you know that you're making a change, and you know that you want, that your business is making a change. It's serving a better, it's serving, it's making lives better, it's enriching lives better. You're basically making a positive change regardless of the ups and downs and the difficult times. That's the story of Catwalk now.
Thank you. Thank you, Samia. It really sums it all. Having the drive for passion, thinking big, and always caring for your business and for economic development and the community at large. Being good to the community is definitely a passion of yours. Thank you so much. And speaking of that, we are going to dive in a different direction here in how to change the mindset, to think big, how to change the mindset to build the aspiration for being good and being entrepreneur in mind. And here I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Malikah Alturki, scholar, practitioner of organizational learning, and she just finished a dissertation on that topic, and she is going to add to this discussion. Thank you, Malikah, for being with us. The mic is yours.
I think I'm not going to use it. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Yes? Well, thank you so much for this nice introduction. And also, I would like to thank ABPA, Mr. Fuad Sahori, and U.S U.A.E. Business Council for hosting such a great event. To begin, and it's my pleasure to be here with you all. To begin, I would like to emphasize the importance of really adapting and fostering an entrepreneurial mindset. Actually, it's so essential that it really distinguishes between entrepreneurs and non-entrepreneurs. Let me define what entrepreneurial mindset is. It's a set of skills, abilities, and behaviors, attitudes that make that women entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in general need to act and sense and mobilize under unperceived conditions. And we all know that entrepreneurial endeavors are full of those uncertain conditions. So examples of these characteristics are risk-taking, determination, flexibility and resilience, having affinity for learning, and most importantly, having high confidence and self-efficacy. And I cannot really emphasize how it's important for Arab women entrepreneurs to adapt entrepreneurial mindset, not only locally, but also more so in international settings where they face a lot of complex challenges that make this kind of such a mindset very important. I can give you examples, like for example, high confidence is very important for women entrepreneurs to increase their awareness of their potential to go or to move from domestic into international vision for themselves and for their enterprises. Also, having affinity for learning would help them really to learn from local feedback. They need to have the project flexibility and resilience for them to really and know how to manage expectations through being real about growth potential. And also the agility, they need to be agile in their positioning and approach as they find their niche in these new settings. So changing mindset it's a deep process. It takes a long time. So really we cannot really make it into just formal education like a course or like a class. It takes a long process. So we need really to incorporate a lot of informal ways of learnings. In my dissertation, I did my dissertation Saudi women entrepreneurs, and they really exhibited a lot and pursued a lot of different informal ways of learnings. For the sake of time, I'm just going to mention two of them. I'm not going to focus on all of them. But one of the major findings was the importance of family context for them really to develop this mindset. Their family helped them to form their sense of self, to think about the future and form these aspirations for the future. It helped them to develop these characteristics that are very important for them to develop this mindset, entrepreneurial mindset, and have the readiness for them to be entrepreneurs. And this happens usually in childhood period and adulthood period, before and after establishment. So the importance of family is continuous for women entrepreneurs and Arab. And we can talk about, analyze why it's that, because family is very important in Arab countries. One example was a Saudi woman entrepreneur who was born with disability and she couldn't walk, and this really had a negative impact on her confidence. So she really was not confident. Her family in her childhood and also adulthood helped her really to change her self-talk, helped her to change her perspective about her situation. And this really helped her to be where she is right now. She's so successful, and she's not only in Saudi Arabia, a Saudi woman, like a successful entrepreneur in Saudi Arabia, but also she expanded to other countries in the Middle East. And she kept attributing this to her family, to her parents, and how they really helped her develop such a mindset. Another also way of informal learning that the participants in my dissertation discussed was learning through mentoring and coaching. They stressed a lot about how their mentors and coaches help them really to change their mindset, help them to change their self-talk, to help them change their language, create new habits, and get out of comfort zone. Most importantly, getting out of comfort zone. One of the participants shared that she had a passion for coffee. She loved making coffee, so she decided just to open a coffee shop. But then passion was not alone. Was not enough for her. She lacked a lot of managerial skills. So, but she wasn't aware of this deficiency in her. So she was overwhelmed and she was stuck. She wasn't able and she wasn't familiar how to get out of her comfort zone. So she thought this dream is too big for her. She decided to close the business. 2 years after, she decided to open a new business, but this time with the help of a mentor. Her mentor really helped her to get out of her comfort zone. This included a lot of coaching on how she built her managerial skills, how she goes through goes through all of the emotions associated with the getting out of comfort zone. She learned how to delegate work. She learned how to hire people smarter than her. She learned how to do plans, and this really made a huge difference for her. So she always says, without this mentor, without this coach, I wouldn't even be here. So as I said before, the changing the mindset is so deep and takes a long process. And those examples that I shared with you showed the importance of incorporating informal ways of learning. So this is why entrepreneurship educators and policymakers in the Middle East and Arab countries, they need really to focus on these informal ways of learning, incorporating them, and not only in adulthood period but also in childhood. So for example, they should really design programs and initiatives for families to recognize and be aware of the importance of their role in women and their children. And support them throughout childhood and adulthood, before and after their establishment of their businesses. They need also to focus on incorporating a lot of entrepreneurial learning initiatives into the education system, starting from early childhood. We need to foster mentorship and coaching. We need to design programs that link novice and potential women entrepreneurs, Arab women entrepreneurs, with experienced women entrepreneurs. They could be local and international. So they help them really through the process of succeeding as entrepreneurs locally and also internationally. And since coaching is a new concept in the Middle East, we need also to design programs to help them to increase the awareness of the importance of coaching and mentoring, and also provide training for mentors to improve their mentorship skills. The other thing I want to add is it's very important also to surround Arab women entrepreneurs with women entrepreneurs who really model this type of mindset, so they can help them and support them throughout the process. For the sake of time, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to answering questions.
Thank you, Malikah. Definitely, you hit on the main points. It is not just awareness, it is not just knowledge, it's really diving a little deeper in that mindset and changing the mindset and getting out of your comfort zone, but most importantly, being mentored to gain better insights into how to build and grow your business. Thank you so much. We'll take this a step further here. I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Doaa Taha. Thank you for being with us, and the mic is yours.
Thanks. Thank you, Salah, for your kind introduction and for moderating our panel with your usual elegance. So, ladies, gentlemen, and our colleague on the panel here, I would like first to take this opportunity to thank the Arab American Business and Professional Association that Salah is a talented board director and secretary of the board of, for the amazing work they do here in helping our women and men from our community to enhance their chances at accessing quality jobs in the U.S. and beyond. And of course, it's under the able leadership of its founder and chairman, Fuad Sahouri, and a great team of professionals. So under our overarching theme today about empowering Arab women entrepreneurs, I will try to bring together multiple strands that are germane to this, in terms of how this dimension of women's empowerment enables change and how change needs to enable empowerment in order for women's economic empowerment to be strengthened, among other things. First and foremost, it is obvious that women's empowerment cuts across all social, economic, and political endeavors, and it is clear that adequate civic rights and human rights cannot be achieved without women's rights. As it is frequently pointed out by Dr. Safa Rifka, the chairman of our National Board of ADC, the oldest and largest grassroots civil rights organization of the Arab American community, that promotes the value enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. The ADC's Women's Empowerment Forum has been promoting all dimensions of such empowerment, including that of economic ones. Entrepreneurship is a key ingredient of socioeconomic development, regardless of gender, but it obviously is a most potent vector of women's empowerment because it enables economic empowerment while creating a status-defining role within society and encourages to espouse leadership qualities. One of the interesting features of entrepreneurship as a gender empowering tool is that it is not geography specific, and while conditions may vary, similar such features are salient in the first world as in the developing countries. Women have faced, with varying degrees, different historic timelines and in diverse environments, very similar obstacles to their empowerment. And many such challenges convey to the already basic set of challenges attached to creating an economic enterprise. Moreover, even in developed countries, the vast majority of the GDP, it's always come from a growth that's carried by SMEs. That field of enterprise, of entrepreneurship, I would say, contains both the established multi-generational businesses as well as the new startup ventures. There is great change underway in most societies around the world, and notably also in the Arab world across various parameters that our theme touches upon today, ranging from women's rights and empowerment, including women's role in the workforce, to issues of equal pay and broader civil society and political participation, as well as on the strictly economic development front of promoting entrepreneurship. Indeed, when it comes to the Arab world, these challenges separately and together touch upon issues such as education, access to enabling services, financing, institutional capacity building, and many other factors such as social acceptance and behaviors, attitudes towards risk-taking, and other limiting factors to enabling change. While our format today does not allow for an exhaustive discussion on every such parameter, I will go over some selective issues that are relevant to enabling and effecting meaningful change, to encourage women's entrepreneurship, which itself is an enabling tool towards great empowerment of women and youth. There is a two-way street between enabling broader socioeconomic change and development and empowering women via entrepreneurship. With swelling ranks of unemployed youth in the Arab world and an education system which runs out scores of graduate job seekers in great quantity and at great expense, even the nations endowed with large mineral resources and moderately sized population can no longer afford to dole out government jobs with little added value to the gross domestic product and economic growth, let alone the most populous countries that have sparse resources. In many countries, this is not only a social economic priority, but a political one. With the winds of change blowing over large swaths of the Arab world, that change ranging from revolutionary fervor in Sudan and Algeria to to internal change within the ruling spheres of government in the Kingdom of Morocco and Saudi Arabia. One can even argue that this change paradigm contributes the geopolitical jockeying between regional and global powers, trying to assert influence over resource-rich areas of the world, including the Arab world. Retreating to the more modest scale of the challenges of entrepreneurship, what is most needed is an enabling environment, both in terms of government support to at least not hamper entrepreneurship via bureaucracy or corruption, as well as a society that is aware of the importance of entrepreneurship and support its young men and women entrepreneurs. In the Arab world, there has been a tendency in the past to consider taking entrepreneurial risks to be inherently reckless, and even sometimes naturally unavoidable initial failure is seen as a tragic loss of face and a terrible reputation risk. This is in stark contrast with the education system and societal attitudes here in the United States, where risk-taking is encouraged and entrepreneurs are celebrated, and where making mistakes is considered part and parcel of the learning and growing processes. It may well be that the American Arab community may be particularly well suited with its own entrepreneurs to create bridges that can assist the many talented entrepreneurs in the Arab world to thrive even more and help change mentalities in their societies. A few years ago, when I advised the Assistant Secretary of State for Global Affairs and Development, Paula Dobriansky, on a joint initiative between the United States government and the Arab world on women leaders in engineering, science, and technology, economic empowerment through leadership in engineering, science, and technology was at our forefront of our agenda. Notably, the data showed that women, when given the chance, tended to do very well in STEM, science, technology, and engineering and mathematics, despite the built-in discrimination on childhood role models for boys and girls. But then, other social mores pushed women to remain in purely academic functions as teachers or researchers, and in more traditional areas of work such as medicine and nursing. And even there was more of a tendency of women to stop their careers altogether after marriage. And extremely low numbers were engaged in economic leadership activities, which is one of the positive traits of entrepreneurship in terms of making entrepreneurs develop leadership skills and assert independence. In this regard, I am a university professor at Harrisburg University of Science and Technology, a young university that is STEM only, and it's one of the fastest growing in the United States, and was created as a nonprofit entity by billionaire entrepreneurs of the technology industry, and that has a pragmatic approach to harnessing STEM towards promoting youth entrepreneurship and what the university calls techpreneurship, under the visionary leader of its president, Eric Dar, a former rocket scientist for the defense contracting industry. The university has 100% job replacement record, leading the rankings of that front. But many of its youth still go on to become tech entrepreneurs themselves. Technology is a moreover allowing the type of innovations that enable more entrepreneurial ventures to be created, whether technology that applies to infrastructure, to industrial technologies, to social enterprise, commercial sectors, or defense and security. HU is the only university that offers 98% of scholarships of undergraduate for the underprivileged students from minority, with 50% being women, which was until then unheard of in STEM education. And I am proud to announce that they are going to open a campus also in Abu Dhabi soon, which will be promoting a robust entrepreneurship program and programs with very heavy participation by women, while it is also bringing over a platform for certified professional development. So with traditional employment models waning in light of the adoption of artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, and data science and analytics, as Salah mentioned, that I teach a research at the university in that field, it becomes important for youth to look at not being dependent on corporate or government employment, but of creating their own jobs and revenue via entrepreneurship. One of the other interesting aspects of entrepreneurship is that, especially in tech-related ventures, the markets are global. Even after being tempered by the current wave of populist protectionism, so this affords countries a path to both growing via exports and receiving the benefits of attracting foreign direct investment, as well as creating localized job opportunities, and while affording their own citizens better income prospects and participation in the global economy. On the political front, one of the advantages of promoting women's entrepreneurship is that it is at once so important to addressing the political challenges of the youth unemployment bulge. Yet it is not a toxically charged subject like some others may be. It enables and creates positive change in a win-win mode for societies and their governments, and have the obvious support of both the liberal progressive elites and the pro-business more conservative circles. So it is extremely important to mobilize all of the society and its institutions, from the education systems to the core government to the private sector, including as regards putting in place support and mentoring systems that allow entrepreneurs to gain the know-how, governance capability, access to production factors, resources, markets, and networks in order to optimize chances of success. And there needs to be enhanced recognition of entrepreneurs, such as the successful women entrepreneurs in our panel here, akin to what the Takreem Foundation has been doing, among others. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Dr. Doaa. You hit the nail right on the head on a lot of issues here, from harnessing STEM programs to the role of grassroots organizations and how all of these institutional building capacities can enable and empower change, to make change happen. No? I'm going to have closing remarks. I really appreciate all your comments, truly inspirational. The issues that hinder women today from formation, expansion, and growth of their business vary. Yeah? And some are confined in the entrepreneur ecosystem of a particular given region or a particular country, more specifically here, the Arab region. No? The Arab region here, there are some, however, encouraging information here that I would like to share with you in terms of the ranking of by JEDI. Yeah? U.A.E. ranked 29 globally, yeah? Being entrepreneur encouraging ecosystem, followed by Oman, no? Number 30th, Kuwait, number 44th, and yes, Saudi Arabia, number 46. So congratulations, and I'm delighted to see that these countries have been representing in these discussions. But if we are to aspire for higher ranking, and I think we ought, driven by women, lots of change is still desired to attract, motivate, and empower women entrepreneurs. For example, can bilateral trade, and this is probably a discussion for the panel here while the audience is getting ready to pencil in their questions. My question to the panel here, can bilateral trade organizations motivate and empower women entrepreneurs? And how can they, the These bilateral trade organizations build and support activities to help Arab women entrepreneurs to enter and grow in the U.S. market in order to offset the trade imbalance. Is there a role, as you mentioned, civic societies, grassroots organizations, but here before us, since this is a business discussion, how about business empowerment and trade empowerment? I think women should claim leadership because although it might be a disadvantage in the Arab world to be a woman entrepreneur, but what we find here in America, a woman-owned enterprise is a big plus. Companies claim it. Companies proudly tell the stories of their women entrepreneurs on their products, on their websites. It's part of the social responsibility. And I hope soon the winds of change would bring about a new redefined role for women entrepreneurs in the Arab world. Here are my 10 commandments here, if you will, for developing an empowered ecosystem for the Arab world. First of all, think globally. Have a purpose, as Samia had mentioned. Be relevant, as Doaa have stressed. Think out of your comfort zone, as Malikah has stressed. Unlocking your potential is the key to success. Having the women can attitude, go digital, build strong brands, and seek the right advice. Thank you for your attention, and we are gonna open the discussion, and I welcome your question cards here, and there will be some help probably on the floor collecting the question cards for us. But I would like to have each of the panelists cross-fertilize on the issues that they share commonly. And back to my original question, do you see a role for bilateral organizations, not only to bring big businesses to the Arab world, but to bring women entrepreneurs to America from the Arab world? I would leave Samia first, since she's doing it. I'm sorry, I volunteered you.
Not working again? Okay. I think one of the main things that I could have benefited from is when I set up my business, I did not think of ever expanding globally. I thought of expanding regionally, which was very much the same. The setup would be the same, and it was just a matter of capacity. The rules are the same, the demographic is pretty much the same. So you set up in UAE, you could expand to Saudi, to Kuwait, to Bahrain, to wherever in that region without many changes. I did not set up with the intention of ever expanding more internationally or globally. And that is why it feels like a startup all over again, because obviously the rules are very different. But when I am doing it now, I realize that had there been some kind of guidance for people who wanted to encourage women entrepreneurs to internationalize their brands, I could have set up my business more on a platform that allowed for internationalization much easier, allowed sort of you lay down the foundations knowing that this is there because we intend to go internationally again, not creating everything all over again, which is what I'm doing in many ways now. Product development, ingredients, packaging, a lot of things are very, very different that could have been uniformly accepted in both areas or both regions. So some kind of guidance, I think, in that way would be very beneficial, especially in the food business where there are a lot of restrictions, health restrictions. When I look at now the requirements by the FDA for food ingredients and food packaging and food claims, I could have easily overlapped or easily used those in our region and still confined by, and still respected what was required over there and had something that could have flown or come into the global markets much, much easier. So yes, I do believe that some kind of guidance in that area would make things easier, would make it easier to move over into international markets, especially the U.S. market.
Okay. Any follow-up on that?
Actually, I think it is. It starts from the Arab world where she started. If the local financial institution make it easier for someone like her to have access to finances with lower interest rates, because the numbers that I hear, if you want to open a business, you cannot make any win-win with it in the Arab world. So maybe the banks need to make it easier for people, and they don't need to have support or collateral in order for a woman to have access to loans. And then after that, I would say digitization is very important. The world is becoming a global village, and with the right techniques and the right entrance to the digitized world, I think from wherever you are, you can reach anywhere.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo the point of guidance also. For our women entrepreneurs really to expand into international settings, they need to understand the institutional context. They need to understand the social cultural context. There is a lot of nuances in the culture that when people come here, they have to take a long time for them to understand these. And this cultural context really impacts the consumer behavior, impacts a lot of things. So for them to come here, they have to understand the context, or any international context. In general, they have to understand different nuances about the institutional, spatial, social, cultural context of the country they were going to go to. And for this to happen, these organizations really need to establish or issue networking events for women entrepreneurs from different countries to really connect with each other, talk with each other, to understand because women in every country face a lot of obstacles. So they really need to understand as a woman what they're going to face in each country they're going to go to. They need to understand also the technical aspects of it, plus the soft aspect of it, the mindset, how they should think when they enter a different country.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. There are now a few questions here from the audience. From Munira. Munira is asking, what is a day in the shoes of an Arab woman entrepreneur is like? Walk me through it. I think that's a natural question for Samia.
It varied. The first 4 years were, there was no vacation, I worked nights, I swept the floor of the factory. It was not easy. There's a lot of stress and there's a lot of worry, and like Dr. Taha had mentioned, if banks made it easier to get loans, less interest. Otherwise, the way things were when I started up, I wouldn't go near a bank. I would not put myself in that situation. So there's ups and downs for sure. It's a very, at least in the UAE, the way it works is you're a factory, so you're a supplier, and then you have a distributor to deal with, and then you have outlets to deal with. And so there's a lot of logistics. Nobody really talks to anybody. You as the factory have to deal with your distributor, and you as the factory have to deal with your modern trade customer. And then you also have to deal with the consumer services, basically all kinds of customer complaints or suggestions or questions or whatever it is. So it's a very overwhelming period of time, I think, when you start up. It never really goes on autopilot. That's a misconception. I always thought it would eventually. It does not. But it's fulfilling. It's very, very fulfilling because even when you slow down, you're still going forward again, because the passion is there and the drive is there, and you don't lose sight of the reason why you started. So even if things slow down or get difficult, it's just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And that's, I think, the key is really to just keep going forward, no matter how slow or how difficult.
Great. A question, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Thias is asking a question here. Do you have an icon or role model for empowerment of women? And what sets them apart? This might be a question for the panel here. What sets that role model?
We don't have role models, and our role models production has stopped since long time ago, unfortunately. And when it comes to women, of course, I would love to be more optimistic and to see more, but it has to do with people who have access to money. And this is, of course, good.
Money and power.
Exactly, and power. And even when I say even recognizing some of our entrepreneurs, if you look at the people who we always recognize, they are more or less the same people. That has to do with money and power. We need to change that in order to create real role models that people can look up to. And there is a very funny thing that I heard it from someone not from the region, but it stuck me in the face. And they were saying that, like, what they asked a lot of Muslim people, not Arab Muslim, because the Arab world is not only Muslims, but it happened to be about Muslim people. And they asked him a question: who is your role model? And they all said, Sayyidina Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad is our role model. We discovered that everyone is saying that, of course, you are very emotional to your religion and everything, but no, we don't have role models. That is why you look at, like more than 1,000 years to create a role model. And this is a problem that we can discuss it on another panel, but yes, it is something that...
So women leadership development is a big challenge.
Yes, and
Thank
we need to create a lot of the Muhammad Yunus Grameen Bank type, and to have it easy access to women, to have microloans, because women can do a lot, and there will be no change in the Arab world without empowering their women.
Terrific. Thank you, Dr. Doaa.
You're welcome.
Dr. Malikah?
I would say I would agree with Dr. Taha about this. Traditionally also, we don't have, as if we focus, I'm going to speak about Saudi women entrepreneurs. Traditionally, it's so hard to find Saudi women entrepreneurs as role models. But recently, with the use of social media, there's a lot of Saudi women entrepreneurs that are coming to place, and people are looking at them, especially those without power, as you said, without money. So they're coming from scratch, and they're developing themselves, and now there's this huge wave that's changing. So people are looking up to them, while they're not really like, for example, and here, like a person that's with a large corporate, they're still small women entrepreneurs, but they still have an impact on other women like prospect and current women entrepreneurs.
Thank you. Samia, did you have a role model?
I don't have a role model that is famous. I'm very much inspired by people I've come across over the last 20 years that I felt had a vision, had a goal, and stuck with it, and did it with all integrity, and maintained the parameters of the principles and values that they wanted, even when they grew and they had a lot of opportunities to grow their businesses bigger, faster, if they let go of a few of those values and principles. And there are two people that till today I very much respect for that. They're just personal friends. I think anybody that really does keep within, the temptations become, they increase as you go through business, and more opportunities and show themselves. And I think anybody that really maintains their values and principles throughout, regardless, I highly respect that, and I think those are role models to me. I think that those people are really people that I aspire to follow. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Amazingly, we are right on time with the conclusion of our panel. I would like to thank members of the audience. Once again, thank you to the UAE, U.S U.A.E. Business Council, and thank you for Fuad Sahori and ABPA for co-sponsoring this panel. I just want to leave us with one thought. Although this is the end of the panel, but I hope this is going to be the beginning of an ongoing dialogue on empowering Arab women and Arab American women entrepreneurs to do more. Thank you, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much.